Good morning. This is Andrew. I haven't uploaded for a couple of weeks and I'm a few videos behind on my schedule, which has almost ceased to be a schedule. But I'm here this morning in an old industrial school here in Ireland, and behind me here in the background is it was called St. Patrick's Industrial School. It went on then to get a more humane, in parenthesis, a humane name called of an orphanage, and it was an orphanage. And when I was a child, we had on Saturday night, we had an orphan from this school used to come to our house and stay with us on Saturday night and Sunday, and he'd go back to the orphanage on Sunday evening. It just strikes me how, on the one hand, my parents they had the best intentions, but on the other hand, to deliver the child back to this place. Now, this place here was a house of horrors. I'm just going to put this was a house of horrors, and I wouldn't for a minute, I wouldn't dream of going into the atrocities that were committed in this place against children, under, not necessarily in all cases by members of religious orders, but under the supervision of religious people in religious orders. So this is a relic of Ireland from the age when Ireland was, probably with a couple of other countries in the world like Spain and Italy, when Ireland was the home of religion on an industrial scale. And religion on an industrial scale meant that young people, young boys and girls, were pushed into religious orders by their parents. And in many cases it was because their parents probably genuinely believed that in a poverty-stricken country like Ireland was at the time, many parents probably believed that to get their child into a religious institution where there was guaranteed food on the table every day of the week was the best thing that they could do for their children. And the funny thing, the peculiar thing about these places was, even 150 years after these buildings were built, that it's peculiar that if we look at the roof lines, here of the building, we'll notice that the apex of the roof, they're all straight, which means that nothing, only the best of fabric, nothing, only the best of timber went into the construction of these buildings. But what this masks is this building here that I'm looking at, and this is the old dormitory section here behind me. Could you imagine a child being doomed to spend their formative years in the world in a place like this, where there's no love, but where there is nothing short of devils masquerading up and down the corridors at night, seeking whom they may devour, seeking what child they may devour. So this is an orphanage. This is an orphanage. I can look up into the bedrooms behind me now. There's one here, and there's a missing pane of glass. I don't know up there if you can see. There's some old wardrobes or storage units where a child could keep his clothes and towels and whatnot. And so the question has to be asked: why did children end up in these places in the first place? And in some cases, in the case of the child that used to come out, the young boy, Patsy was his name, the young boy that used to come to our house on a Saturday evening, the reason he ended up here was because his mother was a single mother and she didn't have the means to support him. And so how did she become a single mother? And she probably went to a dance and she met a guy and he prevailed, he had his way with her, and she became pregnant, and the boy So the boy was born out of wedlock, and if you're watching this, you know the chances are that you've probably had you've grown up in a family unit. Now you may not have grown up. You might have had your parents might have been divorced or whatever. But which or whether, my point is that children coming into the world need a father and a mother. And there are organizations, or not organizations, but there are institutions in society. And the institution that I'm thinking of is the family. And the family is an institution which is necessary for the upbringing of children. And sadly, in this day and age, the family is being eroded. It's being eroded by our government. That there's divorce legislation in virtually every Western country, and from perhaps most countries in the world. And it's just that a divorce can be obtained at a whim. And then there's the casualties of divorce, and the casualties of divorce aren't just the children, but they're also the parents. And being a man, I'm obviously aware of the suicide rate amongst fathers who have been deprived of access to their children. And then there's the children who have grown up with their families with their parents being torn apart, and they themselves then take on board the blame for that in their innocence, thinking that they contributed to their parents' separation. So anyway, that's a little bit of a rant. Well, it's not a rant really, but there's just my thoughts on this place here where I am. This is St. Patrick's Industrial School here in Kilkenny, and you can see here that there are orphans on an industrial scale. Orphans orphaned children, hundreds of them. And in Ireland, and probably in many countries, particularly Catholic countries, there are hundreds and hundreds of these institutions everywhere to accommodate, to clean up and get these orphaned children off the streets, so that anybody walking down the street or passing through a town or something would see a lovely, clean, orderly town, but the orphans were kept here. And then in other places there were homes and institutions like this, not only for orphans but for the orphans' mothers, to sweep them off the streets. So anyway, that's this story. So I'm going to get back on schedules with some more with some other videos now. I have some titles, and so that's my short video on industrial schools. Thank you very much. Bye bye.